Cloudflare also raising its full-year guidance. That comes as more and more companies are increasing enterprise technology spend, perhaps given the stabilizing macroeconomic outlook. Joining us now is Cloudflare co-founder and CEO Matthew Prince. Matthew, good to have you. So you're still factoring in these elongated sales cycles, close rates not being what they were. So tell us what the stabilization in enterprise really looks like and how that outperformance influences your guidance.
Yeah, so I think that throughout all of 2022, enterprise companies saw their time to close, their sales cycles extend. And they gradually went up quarter after quarter after quarter. And we called that early as an early indication that the economy was slowing down. What happened in Q1, though, was what felt like really a freeze up in the enterprise market, where we in one quarter saw a 20% elongation in sales cycles. And I think that was in part because it felt like every week another bank was failing and people were really afraid. And so they held back on budget. In Q2, what we saw is that 20% dropped back down. We're still not at our historical sales cycles length. We're sort of what we were at the beginning of Q1, but that's certainly better than it being 20% worse again this quarter.
So tell me what you see in the AI ecosystem in general, because you guys work with a lot of AI startups. Is there the possibility that we're seeing a temporary AI surge in activity? Not saying that it's a bubble or anything, but that it'll ease out, because we're seeing this chip hoarding. Perhaps Amit Walia was just talking about, yeah, maybe there's a bit of experimentation going on that'll normalize over time. What do you think?
Well, I think that AI for sure is a trend that's going to stick with us for quite some time. And there is a real shortage in the silicon that is needed. What we see from the companies that are using us is that because Cloudflare's mission is to make sure that you can have the data that you have anywhere, you can work across multiple different clouds, we're actually helping mitigate some of those shortages by making it so that companies that are doing AI, especially in the training space, can move their data to wherever there's available GPU capacity and not get locked into just one cloud, hyperscale public cloud provider in just one region. And that's why company after company after company in the AI space is turning to us. We've had a 270% increase in AI companies that are using us. And we think that we are actually the most common cloud company being used across the leading AI startups based on everything that we can measure. So I don't think it's going away anytime soon. And as it's continuing to go, we're trying to make sure that AI companies can get access to the GPUs that they need in order to be training their models and doing their inference.
Yeah, and of course it raises, I would imagine, the need and the demand for being able to secure all of those applications and all of that data as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, what is challenging for these AI companies is that every time you submit a request to a chatbot or submit something to be generated by a generative AI company that produces images, that costs behind the scenes somewhere between half a cent and 25 cents, depending on what you're doing. And so what that has meant is that AI companies have turned to Cloudflare to use our platform to make sure that only the good guys, only the real actors are getting access to their tools. So we're literally using AI ourselves in order to protect AI companies. And again, I think that's one of the reasons we've seen such explosive growth in the AI space.
Matthew, I think a lot of investors are asking whether they underestimated AWS this week after Amazon's earnings and all of the attention that Microsoft has been able to draw since its announcements in February. Do you have the impression that one hyperscaler or another has a particular advantage yet when it comes to AI infrastructure and ecosystem?
Yeah, I think each of the hyperscalers have different characteristics. And if you looked at it last quarter, sort of Amazon seemed like the dog and Microsoft seemed like the leader. I think the real indication there is to measure the sales cycles of those companies. In the case of Amazon, they're very fast twitch. They sell very quickly. They sell a lot of times directly to developers. And again, that means that when you have sales cycles slow down, you're going to see it much more quickly in their business. And when you have sales cycles come back in, that's going to rebound much more quickly in their business. I think we see those same characteristics. Microsoft has longer sales cycles. They're more likely to sell to the enterprise. And so you're going to see that those fluctuations in sales cycles get smoothed out over a longer period of time or show up later in that. And so I think across all of the hyperscale public clouds, the clouds are winning. Who's losing in this space are the hardware providers. And we're going to see, I think, time and time again, those hardware providers are getting replaced with the cloud, whether that's security in Cloudflare's case, storage and compute in Amazon and Microsoft's case. And that, I think, is the real trend that we're going to be following going forward.